With the ability to print literally infinite grenades, take 6 out of the 12 abilities in the game, and cancel every ult with their ult, Dedsec is easily the best faction in the game, and it's not even close. Even Phantoms, who are seeing a ton of play right now, don't stand a chance against a good Dedsec. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can go from a struggling Dedsec to an absolute beast that's able to counter literally every faction. Dedsec has the passive Fabricator, which allows them to recharge their device every 15 seconds. As it stands currently, this has no limit, making it one of the best passives in the game. We all know how strong devices are, so being able to get more than one gives you a massive advantage over your opponents. If you don't run EMPs, that is. This may be a controversial take, but bringing EMPs on Dedsec when you could be running frags, Simtex, or flashes, or heck, even a proximity mine, is a massive waste and an insult to how good this faction can be, especially if you're running Hijack. And speaking of Hijack, Hijack allows you to hack any number of enemy deployed abilities and devices provided you have line of sight and make them your own. Hijack has a cooldown of 20 seconds plus the remaining seconds for whatever ability you hacked, 25 seconds for devices, and 5 seconds for failed hacks. Currently, there is only one hackable device, that being the proximity mine, and 6 abilities as of now that are capable of being hacked. These abilities are mag barriers, trophy systems, shock wire, incinerator drones, heal stations, and spider bots. Now, I need to make this known. Just because you can hack all of these abilities doesn't mean you should. Your main target with Hijack is going to be those pesky mag barriers, followed by heal stations and trophy systems. Shockwire, incinerator drones, spider bots, and proximity mines should generally be the last things you hack, especially prox mines and shockwire, as it's nearly impossible to get value out of these whenever you steal them. Then there's the spider bot. Deploy a spider bot that will target and stun the nearest foe. This single ability is the reason why Dedsec is the most hated and incorrectly used faction in the game. This ability is also where many are led astray when it comes to Dedsec. Many try to use it as a freebie button, but that ends up hurting more than helping. And this is because a lot of them mindlessly follow the spider bot for a free elim, but end up being traded off 9 times out of 10, which just ends up wasting the passive, and at that point, you're better off playing cleaner since you'll have an even better freebie button with a higher chance of survivability and a passive that doesn't require you to live longer than everyone else to achieve the max value. The best way to use a spider bot is to drop it right before a fight and let it take someone out the fight, giving your team the numbers advantage for the time being and hopefully allowing you to win that fight. This usually means though that you won't get the kill on the stunned player unless they happen to get stunned directly in front of you since you're fighting their team, but if you happen to stun someone before a fight breaks out fully, then you can try nading that player, hopefully getting the kill and delaying the enemy team's plans even further. And last but not least is their ultimate, Lockout. Prevent enemies from using their abilities and ultras in a large area. This, just like the passive, is one of the best ults in the game, and that's simply because it can shut down every other ult in the game. And the description isn't lying about that large area. It realistically feels like it's map wide because every time this ult goes off, you are bound to hit the entire enemy team. And, just like Hijack, you do have priority targets when it comes to shutting down ults. The order is Phantoms, GSK, Echelon, Libertad, and then the Cleaners. But, if the game has come to a close, then use your ult on whatever ult is active at that moment, and if it's super close, then use your ult to lock them out of their abilities and ults to squeeze in that extra advantage to win the game. However, there is one drawback, and it's that this ult can be a double-edged sword at times. Because this ult is solely used to cancel ults, mainly the Phantom Bubble, there will be times where you're going on a tear and happen to get your ult before anybody else, meaning you're pretty much stuck with the unusable ult while you wait for the enemy to get theirs, and you can't use it because the hack doesn't persist through death, and you won't be able to get it back in time to cancel their ult when needed. This, in my opinion, is one of the only drawbacks about Dedsec, but it's not a bad drawback, so to speak. Dedsec has one playstyle between the two ability choices, and that's to disrupt the enemy team's teamwork and pushes, all while being where your team needs you, whether that be watching a flank, holding the objective, or playing a power position, which will also end up disrupting them. Now, I need to say, while it's the same playstyle, they still differ from each other. If you choose a spider bot, then you're choosing to be more annoying than effective, which can be effective, but it's not consistent. This is because you lack control over the spider bot and where it passed, which can cause you to lose fights if it chooses to take a horrible path, leading to it latching onto someone too late in the fight, which in turn can make you lose games in certain cases. You can try to prevent this by using flashes in tandem with them, but I found this to be a band-aid fix to the problem that sometimes falls off since flashes can be really inconsistent themselves at times. But I know some of you are still going to want to try for yourselves, so what you're going to do whenever you use the spider bot, which should be almost never, is to try to drop it right before the fight breaks out so it can stun someone as you're fighting. Using Occupy as an example, whenever you need to rotate to that new zone, is around the time that you want to drop your spider bot, and hopefully, depending on how it passed, it'll stun someone or at least slow them down enough because they had to destroy it, giving you the man advantage and either helping you win the fight because the enemy team started it too early, or allowing you to get control over the new objective zone. Also, when you choose the spider bot, you'll usually be watching flanks or playing on top of the objective 9 times out of 10 instead of being up in power position, since your ability doesn't necessarily need you to be further up to get value out of it. But if the opportunity is there for you to push up to that power position, take it. Don't just leave the power position open. Now, if you choose hijack, which you should, then you're choosing the more consistent and controlling playstyle, which can be just as, if not more annoying than the spider bot itself, because you keep taking their abilities away from them after they waited so long to get it back. However, for hijack to get the most amount of value, you're gonna need to be up in those power positions so that when they do use their abilities to fight back against you, you can hack them instantly, shutting down any chance they thought they had. This will also mean that you need to be really proficient with your weapons and devices. Also, I mentioned earlier in the abilities section that you can hack multiple abilities at once. Don't go out of your way to try and do this. If it happens, it happens. But waiting for that chance is like getting lightning in a bottle, and you're better off just hacking the one ability. Because at the end of the day, 1 every time is better than 2 to 4 sometimes. And remember, the abilities you want to go after with your hack are mag barriers, heal stations, and trophy systems, with the mag barriers being the most important. 90% of your hacks per game should just be mag barriers, unless they just don't play phantoms, which at this point in the game is very unlikely. Phantoms are absolutely everywhere right now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The only way this will change is if they change the passive. Having 120 health is a game changer, but at the same time, they don't need to change it because there are weapons that are good against phantoms. People just don't like using the weapons, so it still might get changed. Dedsec as a faction has little to no outright counters, and even then, the counters can be countered in a sense. These counters include Dedsec, the GSK, and the non-hackable abilities Firebomb, Intel Suit, Digital Ghillie Suit, Biovita Boost, and Blitz Shield. As I said, these aren't hackable, making them counters to hijack, but if you pick Biovita Boost or Blitz Shield over their counterparts, then you're already countering your team, to be honest. El Remedio and Mag Barrier are just miles ahead of these two abilities, and there's no reason you should ever pick them. For Dedsec, however, it's not much that they counter you, but they neutralize your efforts. An example, maybe you hack an enemy shield and they hack it back, or in turn hack your teammate's shield, effectively erasing what you did, as both teams will now have a useless shield. And they can do that for every ability. You hack a heal station, they can hack it back. You hack a ADS, they can hack it back. It's a counter, but it's not at the same time. It's just kind of like your ability didn't exist. The GSK, however, can be a really effective counter, only if they're played correctly though, because if they can place their ADSs in the right spot where it can't be hacked or destroyed, then it'll make that position you're trying to clear out near impossible to do with nades, force you to take gunfights instead. And if they're running 2 GSK, with one on Shockwire and the other one on ADS, they can completely lock down a zone for a good amount of time and make taking that area from them basically impossible. But you don't have to worry about this too much because it only happens on escort and zone control. And as long as you don't play a rank and choose those modes, then you never have to worry about this at all. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and let me know down in the comments if this video helped you at all. And if you're interested in more guides, then you can either click on this video here or check the description down below to the playlist that has all my other guides.